While it's impossible to predict China's economy will collapse with certainty, many experts agree that the country is in a critical condition. In this video, I'll show you evidence that China's entire economy is about to implode within the next 34 days. Welcome to Profit Protection. The Chinese government has recently frozen the bank accounts of over 400,000 people. China's economy is built on the house of cards concept, in which a minor shift can bring down the entire edifice. China will collapse economically within 34 days along with the global economy. The domino effect will be devastating and there won't be any recovery possible. This isn't a question of if, but when China's economy will collapse. The Chinese economy is teetering on the verge of disaster, and when it falls, the rest of the world will follow. The current political situation in China is only just beginning to deteriorate. The party is indeed becoming increasingly authoritarian, and the people are responding. While this is bad news for the world's economy, it would be a catastrophe for China. A collapse would most certainly result in widespread starvation and civil war, given China's declining resources and widening social discord. In a nutshell, there couldn't be higher stakes. When $6 billion of deposits froze up in China, people were furious. The authorities had to intervene to maintain order at the demonstration. Hundreds of thousands of Chinese homeowners stopped paying their mortgages after the demonstration. This is worth a total of $300 billion. It appears that mortgage payments have stopped on 301 projects in 91 locations. China is repeating the 2008 recession, but on a much larger scale. The CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is trying to control the situation, but a massive social revolution is brewing. According to recent meetings between government officials, it is evident that the CCP is under a great deal of stress. The tension will more than likely continue to grow and mount as China's social unrest has brought many hidden problems within the country to light. Problems which affect not just China, but other countries around the world as well. Recently, over 400,000 Chinese citizens' bank savings were frozen. This happened when people tried to withdraw money from the ATM and their withdrawals were declined. Many people were very upset because they could not access their own money from the bank. The freeze was a result of a long-term fraud scheme. The CCP has been trying to censor the spread of protests about the bank freeze on Chinese social media, but they have been unsuccessful. Hundreds of other Chinese banks are at risk, according to the government, even though only 5 different banks were frozen. Construction has ground to a halt after 300 million square feet of development was halted. Local governments are unable to continue. Some have argued that the 200 to 300 billion yuan property fund will not be enough. Home sales have decreased by 20%, and the start of construction projects has decreased by 30%. To make matters worse, China is currently experiencing a mortgage revolt. Financial regulators have devised a plan to allow citizens to put their mortgage payments on hold, but this could cause major financial problems down the line. Unpaid mortgage payments totaled 2 trillion yuan, or $300 billion as of last month. If people continue to refuse to pay their mortgages, it could create a domino effect that would be disastrous for the economy. When 5 banks went bankrupt, it had ripple effects on the rest of the financial system. This will lead to the bankruptcy of 20 more banks, after which 100 more will be at risk and the dreaded contagion is threatened. The Chinese banking system is based on fractional reserves, which is how most other countries' financial systems operate. The money does not remain in the bank when someone deposits $1,000. The bank lends out $900 of the funds and keeps $100 as reserves. This method allows the bank to profit from the interest on that loan. The person who loans you $900 will in turn spend it on products and services, which creates income for someone else. That individual will then deposit the money into a bank where it can be loaned out to other people. The lender spends the money when someone borrows $810. Someone will get $810 in pay and deposit it into a bank account. The bank will lend out $729 with $81 kept as reserves. This will continue over and over, resulting in the bank being excessively leveraged by up to 10 times. Because the bank is using its cash reserves to dilute the stock and pay off debt, people are permitted to borrow at lower rates. In this scenario, it's known as the monetary multiplier effect since each loan is multiplied over and over again. Before we talk about how this could affect you, let's talk about an issue we're facing. It's well known that China utilizes bots online to dislike and downvote content that is critical of the CCP. Besides giving us support via likes, clicking that button also helps us fight to get on top of the algorithm. Thanks so much. Now, let's get back to the video. To put it simply, if there is a total of $10,000 in the banking system and everyone tried to withdraw their money at once, no one would be able to get any money because there wouldn't technically be any left. The banks created money without anything to back it up. which is why many economists know that China's recent social unrest is a sign that the Chinese economy is coming undone. The mortgage boycott was not random, but rather a response to the poor state of the economy. Years of mismanagement and avarice ultimately resulted in a consumer boycott. Chinese house owners were eager to acquire any home on the market because prices in China kept rising year after year. Unlike the United States, where people could not fathom that housing prices would ever plummet, Canadians were oblivious to the fact that house values might fall anytime soon. As a result of increasing property value, individuals would put away years of savings just to acquire a piece of real estate. Chinese families own a large proportion of their assets in real estate. This implies that individuals save for a long time before purchasing even one property. Widespread home ownership among young people was accepted in Chinese society, which resulted in a never-ending demand for housing and a prospering market. The US levied a total of $34 billion in tariffs against China, and China responded with similar charges. The global economy would not be excessively hurt if the trade war stopped at its current state. However, that does not seem to be the case. During Donald Trump's time in office, he has threatened China with an additional $500 billion in tariffs if they do not change their practices, which covers almost all of the items China exports to America yearly. Whether or not this would be done by the latest administration, that is the question. According to some figures, China is on track to replace the United States as the world's largest economy. In essence, China and the US are engaged in a trade war in which the US charges a steep duty on certain items while China retaliates. If the economy were to tank, it would mean disastrous consequences. Closures of banks would trigger a domino effect throughout society, leaving us without access to food, gas, and other life-saving resources. A chain reaction of failures up the local government totem pole would result in power grids going down, subsequently leading to blackouts with no water or electricity. While this may appear to be the most catastrophic scenario, keep in mind that China is highly indebted and its currency is gradually declining in value. The personal debt, dollar, and government debt bubbles have yet to deflate. We are making progress every day as the world's central banks continue to create more fake money instead of addressing the problem directly with budget cuts and tax increases. A debt crisis in any country might result in a financial collapse with catastrophic effects for the global economy if it can't pay its obligations or its currency becomes worthless. Of course, predicting whether or not this will occur is impossible. Nevertheless, owing to the present situation, there is considerable likelihood of it happening. Hey, thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.